Okay, good evening sa ating mga viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, welcome to MedMom's Wednesday webinar. I am your host. I'm Dr. Tipi Tanchanco, a developmental behavioral pediatrician and the director of MedMom. So, our Wednesday webinars are a way of reaching out to you and delivering timely and relevant topics in child development from our experts. Maganda po yung pag-uusapan natin ngayong gabi. And siguro po, para may chance tayo na magtanong, don't forget to put your question sa chat box po sa FB. Nasa baba po siya, tignan nyo. At saka for those joining us in Zoom, tap on the Q&A button so that we can read your questions to our experts. So maswerte po tayo tonight. We are joined by two experts in the field and let me introduce them to you. So our first doctor with us is a developmental and behavioral pediatrician at MedMom Institute for Human Development. And Dr. Pabs believes in the potential of children of all abilities to grow in a nurturing environment that supports their needs. Si Dr. Pabs po is a father of a wonderful four-year-old kid, and he treasures every moment he can spend with this little daughter of his. As a parent, he understands that he can only give his daughter his love, but not his thoughts. Importante daw po yun, because he believes that his daughter has her own thoughts. Okay, so si Dr. Pabs po mahilig mag-travel. So he travels with his family to appreciate diverse cultures and to discover a wider view of the world. Pwede rin wilder actually. So wider and wilder view of the world. Si Dr. Pabs po yan. Yung next expert po natin, hindi ko pala napakilala. Dr. Pbs Planta. Siya po ang ating developmental pediatrician. Dr. Pbs, mag-hi ka muna sa atin, mga viewers ngayong gabi.
Hello.
Ayan, si Dr. Pbs.
Good evening po sa kanilang lahat.
Ayan, okay. Yung next expert po natin, pakilala ko rin po sa inyo. Si Miss Patricia Yap, or si Teacher Poy as she is fondly called, is a developmental psychologist and early intervention provider at MedMom Institute. So her work has primarily been with children with developmental delays and their families. So magaling po mag-coach si Teacher Poy. She also works with families who are looking to better their interactions with their children through play. Kasi si Teacher Poy is actually a play enthusiast herself. She is a strong advocate of play as a fun way of learning and promoting development. Let's say hi, Teacher Poy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Ayan, so maganda po yung pag-uusapan natin ngayong gabi. So kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, don't forget to type in your questions sa chat box po on Facebook and then use the Q&A button when you've joined us through Zoom. Let's start, Dr. Pabs. Excited na ako.
Thank you, Doc TP, for that kind introduction. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Naimbag nga rabii tayo amin apo kadagita Ilocano.
Ayan, okay.
Yan.
Hello sa mga, ano ba yun? Taga Ilocos ba yan?
Mga taga Ilocos yan, hanggang mga taga Cagayan, tsaka Tarlac, part of Tarlac. So, okay. So, good evening, everyone. I hope you are all safe at the comforts of your home. Together with Teacher Poy and Doc TP, we'll be discussing tonight how to support children during the COVID-19 outbreak. So I'll be sharing with you some ways on how to nurture and protect our children at home. So most parents are now working remotely with schools being closed. I'm sure a lot of the parents, including me, are actually find ways on how to support our children and how to make them healthy and preoccupied at the same time. So tonight, join me as we discuss three important topics. We'll go through the following shortly. So first, we'll talk about how do we engage our children when we talk about COVID-19. And then we'll also give you some points for parents on how to support the developmental and psychological needs of our children during the time that we are all stuck in our homes. And lastly, we'll give you some tools naman on how to support or to continue supporting the learning of children at home. So I'm just wondering, no, Doc TP, Teacher Poy, how many of our parents or those who are taking care of children are actually talking to to these kids about COVID-19?
Oo nga. Kasi parang nakakatakot din siya minsan, di ba, Doc Pabs?
Oo, kasi this is something new. Nobody actually knows a lot of this. There's
Right.
so many things happening. There's so many news, so many information. So for
Yes.
us, I think it's important that we talk about it kasi when we are more open, then we learn more about these conditions. So first off, I think it's very important that we have to talk, be very willing to talk. Let's not be afraid to discuss about coronavirus. So be open and listen.
Right.
So let's ask our children, how much do they already know? Kasi a lot of them actually have heard about the coronavirus, no? And some of them are actually seen people wearing masks.
Doc
So,
Pabs, ikaw ba?
mm,
Nakausap mo na ba ang little girl mo about the coronavirus?
yes, there are actually ways on how to do that, depende sa age, no? So since I have a preschooler, I'll show you some pictures later on how to actually engage young children. For the older ones, syempre meron naman tayong ibang ways for that. So right now, there's actually a lot of information going around. So napaka-importante that we need to get reliable information from trustworthy sites. So locally, we have the DOH. Sa Philippine Pediatric Society, we have mga COVID-19 resources. So I think that's very important. No? And then internationally, we have the CDC, we have the UNICEF, and then we have WHO. Now, next thing, we have to be developmentally appropriate. Do
Ano
not volunteer more than what they need to hear. Yes,
Yes.
Doc TP.
Yes, Doc Pabs. Anong ibig sabihin ng developmentally appropriate?
Yes, that's a very good question, Doc TP. So important that we know how old our children are and how much they understand. Kasi from there, then we'll use a language that they can comprehend. Kasi pag masyado namang overwhelming yung information, baka wala na silang maintindihan. And then let's answer our children's questions honestly. So siguro, especially for those older kids or mga teenagers na they have lots of questions. It's okay if you don't know the answer to everything. So we can always say we don't know the answers yet, but we're working on that. So take this opportunity to actually learn together with your children. Now, kanina Doc TP, you were asking about how did I engage si Arya, my 4-year-old daughter, no? So this is one thing that I actually use. This is a coloring book. It's called Learn About the Coronavirus. So this is very appropriate for young children. So you can read about it together, you can color, and I tried this with Arya and she actually enjoys it very much. So you don't need to finish it in a day. So pwedeng 1 or 2 pages lang and then the following day, get another page naman. Now, I understand na hindi lahat merong internet access or hindi lahat merong printer, no? So kung wala namang we can be very resourceful. So look at some things na available at home. So maybe you have letters in different colors, and then you can use this as a starting point, no? So this is another way for the young children. So like what we did here, we just pick up some letters. Actually, tina-target na rin natin dito, not just learning about coronavirus or COVID-19, we're actually targeting them some basic pre-academic skills like reading, spelling, lalo na dun sa mga kids na pumapasok ng school.
So parang yung ibang domains of development na target din natin during this lockdown, Doc Pabs?
Yes, that's correct. Okay, now, for those naman na napagod na sa kaka-color, this is an activity book. You can actually download it from UNICEF. Aside from reading, ang maganda dito, you can actually cut and then paste. So dito, this is printable, no? Downloadable, printable. So on the first page, for example, the picture on the left side of your screen, pwede nyo yung i-cut. So you allow your children to cut and then sila mismo yung mag-glue or mag-paste.
Okay.
Now, doon naman sa mga older kids or those who are in primary school or mga grade school na, this one is coronavirus for children. If you're familiar with the illustrator of yung Gruffalo, he actually did this as well. So if you have mga 6 or 5 to 9 years old, this one is more appropriate. Actually, medyo mas text heavy na siya. Now, Very important is also to look for stories of people who are working to find cure or some ways to control yung ating pandemic. And also for people who are caring for the sick. Very important to teach our children to be compassionate and not discriminate. Okay, I'd like to emphasize that.
Oh, ayun.
Diba? Napakaganda ng opportunity na to. We're not just teaching them about information, we're actually teaching them also some values.
Yes. Important yan, Doc Pabs, di ba? Foundation
Yes.
talaga ng development.
Oo, kasi kailangan holistic tayo, hindi lang puro learning, hindi lang puro knowledge, hindi lang din puro motor. Kailangan meron din tayong other domains of development na kailangan i-target. Okay. Now, this is another one for the older kids. I got this from this website, so you can download it for free. Ang maganda naman dito, aside from reading about the coronavirus, at the end of the book, this printable book, meron dito parang chine-check niya kung how much you understood about coronavirus. So you can match yung facts, merong crossword, you can find words. So very, very nice activity actually for the family.
Parang may test, no, Doc Pabs?
Oo nga, parang chine-check din niya how much you understand. So ang maganda lang dito, Doc TP, hindi naman siya graded.
Correct.
Yun yung maganda. Kasi hindi lahat ng kailangan i-grade.
Diba,
Ang
Teacher
importante is we learn. Di ba, Teacher Poy?
Let's do that later.
Yes.
After this webinar.
Okay.
Oo. Okay, now next thing, we have to reassure our children and let's focus on the things that we are actually doing to make them actually safe. No? So it's important to remind or to emphasize the things that we do to make them safe, like hand washing, thorough hand washing. So for kids, you can teach them. Siguro a lot of you have already heard, you can teach them to do it for 20 seconds. That would be around 2 happy birthday songs. And then, of course, to practice social distancing. So I think that's the first part of my talk. Right now, I'll start with the second part. Ito naman, this is for parents, no? Also for parents, I mean. How do we support naman our children? Kasi ito medyo matagal pa. Kahit malilift ang ating ECQ on probably May 15, we don't expect our kids. Diba? Sabi nga ng DevPed, August 24 pa papasok. Some of them may just be online.
Right.
Okay, so
sige, Doc Pabs, anong pwedeng gawin ng mga parents for their chickitings at home?
Yes, for now, we have to keep our routines in place. So this is the key, no, to have a regular schedule. Wake up at the same time, eat lunch or breakfast, and then go to bed at normal times. Medyo challenging to, pero sana mamimic natin as much as we can. So let's try to mimic a school schedule. So could be an alternating period of study and play. And then I think one important tip siguro is you can create your own. The one on the right side of your screen is something that we did for Arya. So pwede naman tayong hindi masyadong rigid sa schedule. We allow ourselves to be flexible. Right. So ito parang guide lang natin. Okay?
May free time din siguro dyan, di ba, Doc Pabs?
Yes, actually, if you look at the schedule, in the morning is actually walking and then eating, and then it's actually an alternating learning, studying, may quiet time, my fun time, my playtime. Actually, yung playtime, meron dyan independent playtime. So mamaya, i-discuss sa atin yan ni Teacher Poy. Why is it important to have an independent play? Yeah. So, here, we have to be very creative with new activities. So dito sa part na to, I will call on Teacher Poy to discuss more about play, the value of play, and why is it important. And then later on, I will come back and discuss with you some more tips. Okay?
Yan. Sige.
Yay, great.
Si Teacher Poy naman ang mag-share ngayon. Teacher Poy, kwentuhan mo nga kami, ano ba yung mga techniques? Kasi when I see you play, parang, enjoy. Both the child and Teacher Poy are enjoying, no? When they interact. Bigyan mo nga kami ng mga tips. Paano ba ito ginagawa? What's your secret?
So tonight na marireveal ang aking secret.
Wow.
It's not such a big secret really, Doc. I think siguro before I start, maganda siguro i-lay muna natin yung foundation, or siguro I'd like to tell everyone what I mean here when I say playtime, no? Parang maganda din i-contextualize natin yung focus ng play na papag-usapan natin tonight. So I think the kind of play that I will talk to you about here tonight is a kind of play that focuses more on process over product. So you can see here this little boy who's made a big mess of this room. And I think a lot of parents can relate to it na the minute a child gets to hold that pen, marker, or crayon, parang may drawing na sa wall, may drawing na sa floor. But really the bigger picture is you've allowed that child to gain more control over his motor skills. Maybe the child learned to grip the pen better, maybe better strokes. Maybe along the way or throughout this process, natutunan ng bata yung different concepts and colors. So really just that overall focus of process over product.
O, meron tayong new phrase, Teacher Poy. Process over product. Okay, maganda yan.
Yeah. So this other focus of the display that I'm talking about is yung back and forth exchange. So ito yung tinatawag nilang serve and return. Okay, so there's actually a lot of value with that back and forth exchange that happens between you and your child. Okay, so it can look different for different kids. So maybe for an infant, a serve will look like a smile, and the return will look like a parent smiling back. And so there's that back and forth exchange that happens. So ito yung focus ng play na I would siguro encourage a lot of parents to be more mindful when they engage their kids in play. So there's other things why we do play, bukod dun sa it helps kids learn different things along the way. The wonderful thing about play is that it targets so many areas of development. Tulad nung na-mention ni Doc Pabs earlier, there's the wonderful thing about play is that you can use it as a vehicle for learning, and there's so many things you can do with play, and there's a lot of domains of development that get targeted all at the same time. And of course, because it's fun, right? So the other reason why we do play and why it's so important to play, especially in these times, in this time of lockdown where everyone is stuck at home, now is actually a really good time to be cementing those relationships between parent and child, caregiver and child. Because in times of uncertainty and fear, our children will want nothing more but to feel the safety and security provided for by their parents and family members. So what better way, diba, to distract, to alleviate that fear and anxiety but through play.
Nakakatanggal ng tension. Parang ganun.
Pati din tayo, diba? We can also engage in play. So this next slide, Doc, kasi ako yung background ko is in early childhood education. So I'm really a teacher at heart, even though I've put on this psychologist hat already. And to me, I've always been, like you mentioned in my intro, I've always been a strong advocate of play. Like if you want to learn, you do it through play because it's fun. Okay, so playing is learning to me. So when you ask what kind of player your child is, you're really asking what kind of learner your child is. So I think siguro yung first tip ko for our listeners out there, our parents, is to plan to play. Okay? So know what kind of player your child is. And this means looking into parang their preferences, their likes, their dislikes, even the sensory stuff. There's a lot of things to discover, especially our kids who might have different issues, like maybe they have difficulty processing different sensations. So just trying to figure out what kind of learner and player your child is. So mas prefer niya ba ang loud voice, mas prefer niya ba ang soft touch, does he prefer better cleaner environment or messy, or I don't know.
May mga categories ba yan, Teacher Poy, of types of players? Like, meron ba yung designated categories, types of learner, types of player?
Yeah, well, I don't exactly have categories right now, but parang I can think of it as parang there's the chill, the calm learner where I prefer to sit down and just do things this way. And then there's also the active learner where that child might prefer to be on the move, on the go. Later on, I think I'll be able to touch a little bit more about this kind of players, no, and the activities that parents can do while you're home.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So I think this topic of play serves a lot of purpose, no? It can target so many things, and madaming function or purpose ang play bukod dun sa na-mention natin about total development and building relationships. But I think more importantly, it's good to know whether you are playing to regulate or you need to be regulated first to play. Okay,
Okay.
so
Ano ibig sabihin nun, Teacher Poy?
yeah, so I think na-mention din natin to before, no? There are kids who might be like, we mentioned earlier, the active ones who need to be on the go, kids who need to move around in order to focus and in order to pay attention. That's me. I need to move around before I get to focus.
Kaya pala galaw ka ng galaw, Teacher Poy.
Kaya nga, I can't stay put. Bukod dun sa pagiging nervous for tonight. I mean, I really need to move in order to prepare my body to for a sit down activity or to focus maybe even. So I'm thinking about the child who is bouncing off the walls, who needs to move around in order to play. So parang as a parent, if you know that kind of information already about your child, you can better structure your play for your child. So you can do maybe an obstacle course, maybe you can jog in the morning together. And again, the focus is on that interaction that you have, and that's already play. So itong regulate to play naman, yung difference naman nito, I'm thinking about our kids who might be in the middle of a tantrum, who are woke up on the wrong side of the bed, yung mga ginising natin tapos hindi pa pala sila ready gumising.
Yun. Oh, no.
Maybe they're hungry, maybe they're sleepy, maybe they're just not in the mood, and so they can't play. So, parents may want to be more mindful about having them calm down first, getting them ready in order to engage you in play. So, parang interesting siya because you're not only a play partner, you kind of have to play that detective role. You have to be an observer also. So yeah.
There.
Okay.
Teacher
So,
Poy, before you proceed, acknowledge lang natin, shout out sa mga medmom parents natin. Actually, ang dami yung fans Maraming nag-hi daw sa FB natin kay Doc Pabs and Teacher Poy. Mag-hi naman kayo muna. Ayan.
hi guys, hi moms and dads. Also, may gabi sa mga Bisaya diha nga naminaw karon. I'm also from Cebu, if not many of you know. And I think my family is tuned in, so hello.
Ayan, si Teacher Poy and Doc Pabs. Yan dyan, present ang fans club natin tonight. Sige. So, wait, for our parents po, don't forget, just type in your questions po. Pagkakataon natin na mag-ask ng questions sa ating wonderful experts tonight. Okay, Doc Poy, Teacher Poy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I figured out a way for parents to kind of have a mental checklist lang in their minds about maybe how to go through about their day when you think about play, no? Kasi sometimes parang talaga the concept of play, sitting down and then doing an activity or using a toy in order to play, get that concept out of your head. So really what we're talking about here is again that interaction. And so if I'm trying to break it down for you, this mental checklist, and we'll go through it one by one. This first one is the object play. So this one I think very common na ginagamit natin, no? And this object play involves obviously objects, and ito kailangan ng joint attention or tinatawag nating joint activity routines. So joint activities are activities that need sharing of attention. So while an object is there while an object is present. So you don't have to have toys around. You don't have to purchase mga expensive things from the toy store. You can actually use your household items, things that are lying around in your house. And tulad ng sinabi ni Doc Pabs, kailangan to ng creativity. So, when we're talking about object play, you can use household items like this broom and maybe engage the child in house chores. More importantly, object play is very much recommended to use in mga daily routine activities. So, activities that involve yung life skills. So, maybe taking a bath or brushing their teeth or even when they're washing their hands and you're singing that song, that's already a form of play and you guys are having fun with it and you're teaching the child hand washing skills. And I have here some items of parang bath items because, again, with creativity, you can pretend that the water falling from the faucet is a waterfall or these shampoo bottles are characters. So it really, parang you have to bring out your inner child, your inner kid in you to parang tap your imagination. Okay, so itong object play for parents, this is best done during in smaller chunks throughout the day because you can't have your child. It's very difficult to have your child just sit down with that object the entire day, right? So you want to have it in smaller chunks throughout.
Teacher Roy, we actually have a question sa FB related to smaller chunks. Ang tanong, how long should each activity last? Meron may specific time?
Okay, so if we have to be technical, there's a research that came out that if you have 8 times of at least 20 minutes of face-to-face interactions with your child na 8 times throughout the day, this will be very sufficient already. And again, we're not talking about, okay, halika, umupo ka, maglaro tayo. We're talking about, activities that are embedded within your daily routine. So, hand washing, meal prep, eating, taking a bath, changing clothes, things like that. Those can fill up your day. Parang 8 times, check ka na, kuta ka na.
Kuta na, yes. Pero that's nice, no? So parang sinasabi mo, it has to be incorporated talaga dun sa things that they usually do at home, no? That's a good way of playing.
Yeah, especially now, Doc. I think now is such a good time to be teaching our kids mga self-help skills, no? Yung independent skills din that we do for self-care. Those are really good opportunities at this time. Okay. So this next one, so the first one was object play. This next one is social games naman. Okay, so itong social games refers to social interactions or exchanges. And again, this can look different for different ages and stages of development. Here, you can find your action songs. I think madami tayong kids pala na mahilig sa song and dance. Actually, pati parents na din, music and movement. And again, I'm not presenting new information here. So if you're already doing these kinds of things, please put them in the chat box, type them down para din mabasa ng ibang parents yung experience nyo.
Mag-share tayo ng ideas, no? Like, kami ginagawa namin to. Sige, let's write it down. Oo nga.
Yeah, definitely. So parang it would be nice to read about each other's experiences about ideas for games. So sometimes it just needs a little suggestion, a little nudging here and there by another person. Okay, so itong social games, you can actually do this anywhere, indoors, outdoors, and the best time to do it, they say, is before or after independent activities. So you give them that quick and fun social opportunity. Okay. So this third one, so we have object play, then we have social games, and this third one is on motor play naman. So, this one is my favorite because I love movement. I love to exercise. And motor play involves whole body movement. And, I think we have we might have some parents who are tuned in, who live in condominiums like myself or apartments, and they might not have the luxury, or they might not have the access to a garden or going outdoors during this time. So you can see here in the pictures, no, you can set up, you can convert your shared space into an obstacle course. And very timely, Doc, because next week we have a talk by our physical therapists or rehab team on setting up your an obstacle course in your own home. So I hope you guys tune in for
Yes,
that.
exciting. Monday morning yon, di ba?
Yes,
Okay.
Monday at 9, I think.
Monday at 9 a.m. So matututo tayo paano gumawa ng obstacle course indoor.
Yeah, definitely. So, yun. So, experts say at least 30 minutes a day of movement is good for our kids. Actually, for us also.
Yes.
Us as well. And you can make use of gadgets or YouTube videos. Tune into like a yoga or a bootcamp video and do it together with your child. I have this parent I'm working with now who showed me a video of his son dancing in front of the TV, and it's such a lovely way to get your bodies moving. Even the parents are moving as well. So again, this is not new information. I see a lot of parents post on Instagram and social media them exercising with their child. So this is such a great way to incorporate play.
Okay.
Okay, so Doc, we have the play routines or the play activities that I mentioned earlier. This is for all kinds of kids, and parents can use these as a checklist, parang mental checklist that they've done during the day. But this particular routine is an option for kids who might have communication difficulties. Sometimes we have kids kasi who are difficult to engage, baka mahirap sila mag-share ng attention nila. So the play becomes difficult din for the parent. So I have here a play routine that I've borrowed from DIR Floor Time by Stanley Greenspan. And I like to call this the triple A because it's AAA, allow, adapt, and add. And so the first step you would have to do is really just to allow. So follow your child's interests, follow your child's lead, and observe. So, I'm thinking about a child who might be doing some repetitive behaviors and actions, maybe just spinning an object the entire time, spin, spin, spin. So, just allow your child to be doing this. And the second step to that would be to adapt. So, adapting means following your child's actions. So, gagayahin mo siya, imitate. So, you're there, sitting down, spinning the object as well. And you'll be surprised to know that child will, be surprised na sumali ka dun sa play niya. And then the third step would have to be to add. So you're not just, following and allowing the spinning to happen. You're also trying to add a different way of playing with that object. So add other actions, variations. Maybe after spinning this cube or this block for several times, you begin to stack it. And then you kind of back off and then stack it again and then back to spinning. So it's really about respecting the child's interests and actions and waiting for them to allow you to enter their world so that you can bring them into a shared world.
Ganda naman nun, Teacher Paul. Parang yung concept of floor time talaga, no? Join your child on the floor.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and this is my last point here. And I hope, a lot of parents are able to pick up from what I've shared here tonight. But I think siguro just to end or to cap or close everything, I want parents to know na, it's really all about balancing the leading and following. So you're not just always allowing your child to do everything or following your child's lead. When necessary, you also need to take the lead. So it's about that balance that we need to strike with play and engagement. And lastly, I'm just being practical then and realistic here. Allow for some independent play because, in reality, you need to be taking care of yourself too as parents. So it would be good to allow kids to explore on their own different things, and it sparks the imagination. It helps with problem solving. There's a whole bunch of literature also and studies that you can read about on independent play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ang saya nun, Teacher Poy.
Thank you, Teacher Poy.
So, babalik natin kay Doc Pabs ngayon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yan. So, tamang-tama yung third part ng usapan natin, Doc Pabs.
Yes, that's correct. So, actually, meron pang part dito, no, in part 2, medyo on the other half pa po. So, as Teacher Poy discussed lengthily and comprehensively about the importance of play. So, actually, one of the messages here is actually to play. Very, very important sa holistic development ng mga kids. So for parents about my age or yung mga younger, you can go back to your childhood days. Ano ba yung mga ginagawa natin during that time? Before those time na wala pa masyadong screen. So go back for arts and crafts activities, household projects, mga board games. So if you haven't been doing that for the longest time. Now, pag medyo napagod na tayo sa kakaisip or wala na tayong maisip, you can always go back to our guidebooks. So the one here in the picture is something that my wife actually got from a neighbor friend who happens to be the mom of Arya's playmate. So this is actually very good for those kids na hindi pa nakaka-experience ng school. So it's called Kid Starter Curious Curriculum. So it has a lot of activities, suggested activities for those kids who are just staying at home and wala pa masyadong experience in school. Or those na hindi pa talaga nakapag-enroll before.
Mhm.
Now, as Teacher Poy mentioned, very important ang motor play. So if you have an opportunity, get in some activities that will help everyone. So it's a family, get some exercise outdoors. But of course, it all depends on your community. So you still have to respect mga community protocols kasi there are some na you really are not allowed. But if you do, so you can allow your child to run, ride the bike, pick up flowers, things like that.
Yeah.
Now, kung medyo mahirap yon,
Doc Pabs, sandali. Bago natin ma-mistriga, meron tayong question dito. Saan daw makukuha yung Kid Starter Curriculum? Naku, nag-plug tayo. Pero
oo nga.
kung hindi yung Kid Starter Curriculum, ano kaya yung pwede nilang masundan na guidebook or alam mo yon, something to stimulate learning? Meron ka pa bang
Well, aside from mga books, later on during the third part of my talk, meron dun mga websites actually. You don't even need to buy yung book mismo. But if you're interested with really that book, you can message us and then I'll give you na lang yung contact details.
Ayan.
Yeah, so the good thing about the author of that book is she's a preschool teacher. So alam na alam niya. She's a parent and alam na alam niya kung ano yung mga age-appropriate activities.
Right.
So yeah, aside from outdoor play, we have indoor naman. Kasi nga, most of us are actually stuck in our homes right now. So we can do a lot of exercises. Important here is to engage your child. So what I did here with Arya is to ask her to do some of these activities. Hindi naman kailangan gawin mo all at one time. So you can do this in between. Sabi nga ni Teacher Poy kanina, you can have 20 minutes of playtime. And then after which you can inject some physical activity or motor play. And then after which you probably can have your study time or learning time for those kids who are still doing online classes.
Right. Doc Pab, sinabayan mo ba si Arya doon?
Yes, kasi kailangan i-demo natin yon. Kasi at her age, hindi pa niya alam kung anong gagawin. But for those who are older, actually pwede niyong sabayan to. Kanina sabi ni Teacher po, you can actually dance together, you can jog, you can walk. Whatever you can. Yung iba, nag-yoga, di ba? Every morning.
Yes. So, wala lang picture si Doc Pabs doon, pero kasama sa movement na yun.
Then, medyo mahirap yung yoga, hindi ko kaya yon.
Okay.
Now, for our dear parents then, it's very important that we manage our own worries. This is a very stressful time. I must admit, and even me, it's really difficult to manage yung worries natin about uncertainties. So let's try to keep calm as much as we can because we need to take care of ourselves, to take care of our children. Now, if you need to take a break, if you're overwhelmed, take a step back, taking a break would mean reading a book, taking a shower, or just going down, doing your grocery, or even watching Netflix. Diba? A lot of us are actually doing that. Now, another thing that I'd like to emphasize or focus at this point is to limit our consumption of news. So again, as I admit, during the first 2 weeks of ECQ, I used to check my Twitter account, my Facebook account, my Viber, and then there are a lot of news or stories, and it's really, really overwhelming, and it actually worries you. So if you could try to avoid, probably you can check your messages lang muna, siguro like once in the morning or twice in the morning. You can schedule it pero para mabawasan ng konti yung ating mga worries. Because it really makes a lot of difference, no? If you read a lot of those news, lalo na yung mga medyo scary na news. But of course, it's also important to stay in touch virtually. So keeping our support network is actually very important. It actually helps to regulate our mood. So even if you can only video call or text our friends and family members, that will actually help us a lot. So let children use social media, but very important, it should still be within reason. Okay? So, ano yan, Dr. P? Sorry.
Within reason.
Siyempre, still within the limits. So for our younger children, usually mga ano lang tayo dyan, mga 1 to 2 hours a day. So,
Doc Pabs, meron tayong question. So tama-tama sabi natin within reason. May question tayo from FB. Sabi niya, I have a 7-year-old with ADHD. Most grade school kids are into playing video games such as Minecraft and Roblox. How can we encourage them to play instead? So how do you break that cycle? Doc Pabs or Teacher Poy, baka meron kayong tips for mommy kasi baka excessive na yung internet use ng kid.
So I'd like to answer that, no? So very important, as I mentioned kanina, siguro first step is to check. We have to have a routine. Napaka-importante na we have like a schedule. Gaya na sabi ko, it doesn't need to be very rigid para ma-discuss natin ito with our children. So involve them in the planning. So sabi natin, this is the time between 8 to 9, this is playtime. And then siguro between 9 to 9:30, this is screen time. Para they look forward to it. Alam nila na there's playtime, there's study time, there's screen time. Para naman hindi natin sila i-deprive of that. Kasi it's really challenging, especially at this extraordinary time. So yes.
Dagdag ko lang din, Doc. There's also this media use plan that's going on around families now where they really plan what times of the day they get to use the gadget or how long they get to use it. And everyone has to agree dun sa family members. Or maybe during meal times, everyone has to, parang parents make it a point na walang hahawak ng gadget. Everyone focus, sit down, eat, talk to us.
Parents, bawal din mag-gadget.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to watch out also for our gadget use. Yeah, that's very correct. It's called media use plan.
Yeah. Parents
actually, if you check yung website ng American Academy of Pediatrics, meron na silang template doon on how to do that.
Yeah. And you can sit down and talk about it.
Now, okay, other things, we have to make plans. How can you arrange a virtual play date? So even mga kids, hindi lang tayo, pwede rin sila mag-teleplay. Okay, so yes, if you have friends, you can arrange for something like that. You can cook your favorite food. So I'm sure lalo na yung mga teenagers natin or mga older ones, they have their favorite food. You can cook. You ask them to list down ano yung mga gusto nilang lutuin for the day. And this one, very important, is to assign them tasks, household chores. Siyempre, wag naman natin silang gawing
Alina mo na yan.
So kailangan age appropriate pa rin. So for the younger ones, for example, you can just ask them to pick up their toys, pack away their books. For a teenager, especially if both parents are working, you can ask them to mind the younger children if there are 2 or more children in the family. And for older children, you can ask them to set the table, wash the dishes, or throw the trash. Okay? Now, syempre, sometimes the path of least resistance is the right path. So as parents, we always want to be the best parents that we can be. But sometimes the best is the one that says at this point, no, o sige, panood ka muna ng TV, extra time. So kunwari dati, mga 30 minutes lang, siguro ngayon pwede nating sabihin, okay, you can have another 10 more minutes to watch your favorite show. But very important here is we have to remind our kids that we will reinstitute those boundaries once we return to normal or better times.
Or
Okay,
that
kasi
new normal, di ba?
yes, the new normal. So, very, very important talaga yung limit. Hindi pwedeng puro screen time naman the whole day.
Mm-mm.
Okay? Now, so I'm here now sa last part of my talk. So, these are just some tools to support children. How do we support our children while they're still at home?
Tamang-tama. Doc Pabs, before you address that, no, tamang-tama kasi may isang question na how do we prepare kids for online learning, especially if it's their first time? A lot of our kids kasi, di ba, talagang school, ngayon lang sila naka-experience nito. So, yeah, bibigyan mo kami ng tips.
Right, that's a very good question kasi no one actually is prepared din for this one. No? So very important here is to stay in touch with your children's schools. So I understand not all schools are able to provide this, but for those who have online or virtual learning, very important to coordinate with your teachers or yung administrators ng schools. I think they will probably need your help, especially in setting up those devices, your computer, your laptop, your iPad. Ito yung mga time na kailangan nilang ng tulong natin. So you have to sit down with them. You have to prepare yung room. It has to be something na wala masyadong distraction. But if you have like 2 or 3 kids or maybe even 5, medyo challenging yun. Kasi imagine ilan ba ang available na laptop or ilan, baka we need to check yung schedules. Kaya it's important that you contact your schools. No?
Or kung wala silang extra room, Doc Abs, paano yun? Kasi di ba yung ibang condos natin, wala nang ibang extra room. Paano sila pwedeng mag-set up sa house kaya?
So yun yung napaka-importante kasi very, very challenging talaga. So kailangan we have to relay that to the schools na I have another child, this is his schedule. Maybe you can share that with them. Baka pwede nilang i-adjust yung schedule na yun.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to let the children be familiar with all the tools. Kailangan talaga ng practice yan. And then we also have to be techie as parents, okay? Now, for those naman who are not in schools yet, we have educational online and offline activities. So this is one of my favorites. It's called Pbs Kids. There are shows and activities, very nice ideas for our preschoolers. Now, so look for ways to make fun. So for those with babies and toddlers, you can have doodling, pretend play, stacking blocks. I think a lot of this has been discussed by Teacher Poy a while ago. Now, again, if you run out of ideas, you can always go to some websites. There are a lot of them. But this one is from infancy to around preschool. And for our young children, you can do some reading, painting, practice handwriting, making collage, doing a lot of activities. Now, I actually just got this morning. This is from a colleague. I find this very useful. So for those who are stuck, para hindi naman puro coronavirus ang gagawin nila, no? So this one is very good. It's called My 2020 Quarantine Time Capsule. So para ka nang nag-journal, para maybe 5 or 10 years later, you can, or our children can go back to this maybe a jar or a box. So the picture at the middle, you can actually cut that. You can paste it in a box. And then for every day, siguro, you can put something. Ano ba yung favorite movie ng child mo? Or yung at this point in time, maybe put it inside the box. Para later on, when you go back, wow, this is something pala na nangyari. This is a very important time in our history. So 2020 will be very, very memorable. So ano ba ang mga favorite or mga TV shows during that time? So pwede nilang balikan yan. So kumbaga sa atin dati, yan yung parang slum book.
Okay, or anong series ng Netflix yung pinanood mo ngayon, di ba?
Oo.
Bella.
Now, for those naman looking for something more academic, this one is from Scholastic. This is from pre-K to until around grade 9. So grade 9, that would mean mga high school na to, no? So if, again, for those na schools or kids na walang online lessons, maybe you can do some of these tasks, mga parents. So I think this slide is actually my last. I think we've talked about the challenges of screen time, managing yung screen time of our kids. So commonsensemedia.org actually reviews. So ano ba yung mga, if we can't or really having difficulties managing screen time, at least we target for something that it has high quality. So this one, it reviews ano ba yung mga shows, ano yung mga apps, ano yung mga books that are appropriate for a preschool, for a middle school, for a teenager. So this is very, very nice. So maybe you can visit this and check out kung ano yung mga pwede natin. So I think that's my last slide. So we'll be happy to answer some of your questions now. Or
Actually, ang ganda nung sharing. Maraming questions kanina, Doc Pabs, about learning eh. So I think maganda rin yung binigay mong mga resources. Kasi share naman natin sa kanila yung resources siguro when we replay
right.
the webinar, no? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have here some of my resources. Maybe I'll just show them. These are some of them, more of them, and then there's this one.
Yan.
Yeah.
Maganda yan para may choice, 'di ba? Maganda rin kasi 'di ba sabi ni Teacher Poy, kailangan bagayan yung the way the children learn or how they play. So at least kung marami tayong different parang tools in our toolkit, pwede tayong mamili, no? Yeah.
Doc, dagdag ko lang dun sa question about the parent who asked about how to prepare kids for online learning, especially if it's their first time.
Yes.
I think it would be a good idea to start them already, kahit 5 minutes lang in front of the screen on one particular activity that they'd like to tackle that and they can do it maybe several times throughout the day, but just really in short amounts of time para lang ma-prepare na din yung bata for that sit down in front of the screen, and having to talk to a computer or laptop or something or other. Other thing is maybe they can use the gadget as a tool to start to strike a conversation with someone, FaceTime someone, call someone online, and that can also prepare them for having a conversation using a gadget in case they need to do that with a teacher as well. I think it's also a good time to time your kids' attention span when they're sitting down. So when they start to fidget and start to walk around, you might want to also take note of that, so you know how much you need to increase their attention span pa, or you know how much to back off a bit.
Right. Ang magandang tip yan talaga, Teacher Poy, no? Kasi ano rin yan, parang there's that opportunity for parents to observe their kids, no? So, we don't usually do that when we're at work or naiwan lang sa school yung kids or sa house, no? So,
definitely.
Yeah.
Another input lang, kasi the question kanina was a child with ADHD, no? So medyo mas challenging. So I think it's important also that we do not no, or was that the same question or it's another?
Yung 7-year-old na
with ADHD,
video games na
for video games. Yeah, I think we have to set nga yung time niya na dapat ito 30 minutes and then maybe another activity. So dapat merong breaks in between. I think that's the key there to give, especially if kasi kids with ADHD can actually has difficulties sustaining attention. So if you have issues with that, maybe lalo na kung medyo matagal nyo nang hindi nakita yung mga DevPed nyo, maybe also a good time to consult your DevPed. We can do it through teleconsult or telemedicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
there are ways.
Offers teleconsults at this time, no? Especially for behavioral concerns or merong mga mental health issues, then we're here for you. No?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I think maganda yung discussion natin ngayong gabi. So, ako sobrang thankful para sa mga experts natin. Pero siguro before we let our experts go, maybe some last words or ano yung mga takeaway messages natin. Maybe we can start with Teacher Poy.
Yeah, I think to me the biggest thing parents should take away from tonight's webinar is to use play, which is really having fun while learning, sa lahat ng aspeto, especially sa life skills or daily routine. So don't forget to have fun.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Nice.
have fun, Teacher Poy. Doc Pabs, ikaw, anong
Well, sa akin naman, it took a pandemic to keep us at home with our children, with our family, to spend more time with them. So let us not put this opportunity to waste as we aim to strengthen our relationships with them. So together, let us discover ways on how to nurture and protect our children while we are all at the comforts of our home during this very, very challenging time. And let's build positive connections that will bind us together for years. So yeah, I think that's my takeaway message. So I hope our audience, our listeners actually learned something from tonight. I'm sure a lot of them actually are doing uh, a lot of activities now for their children. But
right?
these
Oo
are
nga.
just additional ano lang, kumbaga, resources.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Actually, talagang kudos to our parents, no? I'm sure yung effort that they put into the learning, yung play ng kids nila, nandyan talaga. Ngayon talaga natatry during itong, ano natin, itong lockdown na to. So to our viewers, our moms and dads and lolas and lolos and titos, titas na nakikinig po sa atin or nakinig sa atin tonight, sana po marami kayong natutunan from our experts. You can still, after the webinar, pwede pa po kayo mag-type sa FB and then tignan natin kung mapapasagot po natin sa kanila yung mga tanong nyo. No? So, again, we would like to thank you for joining us tonight sa ating MedMom Wednesday webinars. Again, I'm Dr. Tipi Tanchanco and maraming salamat po. Good night po. Mag-ingat tayong lahat.
Good night,
Good
everyone. Thank
night.
you.